In terms of media training, I can give you like the 10-second version of media training here. When you do a when you do an on-camera interview, if it's not live, when you completely fuck up, you just stop, you take 2 seconds, and you start over. And it's incredibly helpful to know that, you know, all your stutterings and your ums and your ahs can sort of magically go away, because you can think of, you know, when you're halfway through a sentence, you realize what you should have said, you can just stop and then say it, and that'll become the actual thing that is said. And when you're dealing with print journalists, remember that, you know, they're writers just like you're writers, and so just talk to them like a writer and try to figure out what they need to actually tell their story and tell them that, because when they're sitting down with Drew Barrymore or Johnny Depp, they're going to flutter off in 1,000 different directions, and they'll have nothing to sort of hold on to. And you can be the person who's actually providing them the narrative thread of like what's really happening. And as much as they, you know, can say like, oh, they don't want to talk to you in regards to the movie, they really don't want to talk to the producers. And it's more interesting than the producers are generally. So you can be a more useful person in a room for that. So that's my media training. I had not had a publicist through my first couple of movies and through first Charlie's Angels and stuff, and I'd help out as things were helpful. But you know, in a Charlie's Angels movie, there's really not going to be a lot of time to talk about, you know, the writing. When we were doing Big Fish, which is a project I'd seen from when it was a manuscript up through, you know, all the way through completion in multiple directors, and it turned out well, and so like, oh, we're going to try to get awards for it, and the whole award season thing was just overwhelming. I think that's what Andrew was facing too. Is you realize like, crap, there's like this. I mean, it was just I could see that there were like months of work ahead, and I needed somebody to sort of help filter that stuff through and make sure that I could communicate out, you know, what my little piece of that story was. And so I actually wrote a memo to Chris Day, who's also at UTA, saying like, these are the things I want. You know, I think I want to get a publicist. These are the things I want to communicate. These are the journalists I know who I have pre-existing relationships, and you know, help. And so we set up some meetings for me, and I sat down with a bunch of people, and I ended up hiring BB Lerner also, who has been great. And her job was, you know, because, you know, she talks to all these people every day, and so she knows she just has a shorthand of people that I just would never have. And so she was able to sort of, you know, she made the studio people feel a lot more comfortable, and the studio people didn't have to call me, they could go through BB. She felt the journalists were more comfortable going through her, and everything was just a lot simpler and happier. She's sort of, you know, dead mother-y like, and just sort of keeping everything, you know, up and keeping the energy up and things going.
I remember the meeting that he and I had, and I remember the call from his agent saying, "Will you meet with John August?" And I said, "Oh my God, I'm so excited." He wrote Go, which is one of my favorite all-time films. And we had a great meeting, and one of the things that came out of the meeting was he sent me a document. This is the document he's referred to, the memo. But it was actually a 2-page, and I've kept it all these years because I thought it was one of the smartest things I've ever seen. And it actually should be required by all people who are, you know, thinking about getting a publicist. He wrote, "John August, publicity goals and messages." And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but
in my defense, I was a journalism major, so I over-document.
So I'll just share a couple things. You know, the top was priorities, and he wrote, I never wanted to feel like I'm campaigning for myself. I'm promoting the movie, and the script was a very important part of it. So, you know, right away, John sort of understood the system. I mean, it was a tremendous script, and obviously it couldn't happen without the script, but he understood in terms of selling a movie, you know, what the most effective role for him doing publicity would be. What I want people to know: Big Fish was written by John August based on a book everyone thought was unadaptable. What I want the media to hear about Big Fish, and he listed, you know, 10 points, things ranging from, you know, the author was so inspired he became a screenwriter himself. You know, the screenplay is nothing like the book. When people read the book after reading the script, they're bewildered and impressed. You know, and things like that. What I want the media to hear about my career and goals, stuff about, you know, how he felt about, you know, where his career is going. And then he wrote, what I'm good at. Questions and answers with normal people. Panels where I'm not the only center of attention, and so on. What I suck at, you know, having my picture taken, red carpets, suddenly being on when I'm not expecting it, journalists I'm friendly with, and then just stuff you should know, just random facts about the project in the book and how it came to be.
That is the most awesome.
And I have to say,
No.
this was such a head start for everyone that he met with. And, you know, if you, and I really do recommend this, if you find yourself at that moment where you're about to hire someone, this is a really good exercise. And like I said, I almost think it should be required before people go into meetings with publicists. So I wanted to